I would shoot a quick little video to share a tip that I have learned as I've been building this 48-foot tall multi-generational passive ICF house that I'm building mostly on my own, and that has to do with dealing with gaps. So I am currently up on the third floor, and when you get this high up, and especially because my home is going to be 72 feet long, and because I have these really big windows, that when you fill them full of concrete, sometimes they tilt out just a titch. Even though I did put 2x4s in the middle of the window, because what you're seeing right now is the concrete is poured up to a little bit below that bottom 2x4. And so I'm getting ready for my last pour. And so when I did that pour and had those open window areas, I did put 2x4s across them to try to hopefully prevent it from the concrete from pushing the foam blocks out just a little bit, but it still happened. So I have, as you can see up there, I've got a 1/2 inch gap once I finished stacking. Another 1/2 inch gap over here. So this is one of the downsides of doing it the way that I do it, where I only pour about half of the window, and then the other half of the window gets poured on the next pour. Now the benefit is a huge benefit, and it has to do with being able to have the concrete pump truck hose just go directly down into that, and I'm not having to fight all of the bracing and everything else above that other people fight. So there's pros and cons to absolutely everything, but here's the con, and that is sometimes you end up with a 1/2 inch gap up at the top once you finish stacking the block. So I've got a 1/2 inch gap up there, have another 1/2 inch gap right there. All the rest of the window openings super tight, wonderful, not a problem. The window down there also super tight, not a problem. So in essence, with this one, the building tilted out a 1/2 inch that way, and over here the building tilted out a 1/2 inch going that way. So I need to suck it back together. I need to suck that block up there back together. And in other videos, I've explained how I use this little turnbuckle to easily pull together a 1/2 inch gap, so that the next row of block, in this case, my case, it's my final row of block. I'll actually be up to that 48 feet on the north side. But I need to do a lot of prep work before I can suck that in. Part of the prep work is putting in my scaffolding. And when you're doing really wide window openings, and you can tell the reason why we did put big windows. I mean, take a look at that view of Temp out the window. So anyways, these bedrooms are gonna have epic views, and so we wanted to have pretty epic windows. But when you have epically wide windows, there's the tendency that when the foam gets filled with concrete, it spreads just a little bit. So need to pull that in, and one of the ways to decrease the chances of the spread is putting 2x4s going across the window opening. So before I can put my bracing in, I have to put those 2x4s across, and so I wanted to share with you one of the little lessons that I figured out. That is normally, so you see that screw up there, normally you'd have that screwed in, but in this case, I'm going to be using the turnbuckle to pull the foam over to the right in this case, and over to the left in the other case. So what I did was I screwed in 2 pieces of 2x4 to hold up this long 2x4, because that's going to have to be in place when I put my bracing in. I'll come down to the other window to show you why. I did the same thing over here, and so by not screwing in that will allow the foam to move a 1/2 inch without my 2x4 falling down. So let's come over here where you can see where I have my bracing up, so that you can actually see what I mean in terms of what I'm dealing with across these windows. So there's the 2x4 going across. That means I need to build up behind my bracing. I need to put 2x4s down there so that it's flush with the 2x4 going across, and then also did the same thing up there. And then I screw the bracing into the 2x4s. And I'm still putting in the 2x4s at the same, about, with this particular height, about every every other one of these. So I'll put one screw in here, one screw in there. So I'm skipping the middle one. And I do the screws into the 2x4 at about the same spacing. So that's the reason why I'm having to put the 2x4s in first before I close that gap, so that I can put my scaffolding up, so that I can safely work up there, to use this turnbuckle to suck in the 1/2-inch gap. So hopefully somebody else who's using my same method of just pouring up to the middle of each window. And here's another one of the advantages too, and that is it makes it nice and safe for everyone, because you're just walking around on the floor when you're pouring, because rather than like on this particular pour, I'll be a good 8-9 feet off the ground. But on all the rest of my pours, I've just been either just barely above the floor or standing on the floor. So hopefully this has been a helpful tip for someone, and thanks for watching.